This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Will be the state of the nation, but the questions are what should be the state of the nation. Joshua Nyamori is an advocate and a governance and policy expert, joins us this morning. Good morning, Wakili.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Karibu sana.
I'm happy to join you this morning.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
And also joined by Professor Alfred Omenya, who is a policy and governance expert, joins us here as well this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You well?
Yeah, lovely to be here.
Fantastic to have you. Good to have you here. And you guys were speaking in foreign languages earlier, but we are learning.
So, state of the nation.
State of the nation. It's also the state of the nation, isn't it? We'll look into that. But, you know, as we normally do, let us look into the proverb for today. Our proverbs today come out of French West Africa, Francophone West Africa, and the country is Guinea, surrounded by many others, surrounded by a country, Liberia, which was former slaves from the United States, surrounded by Sierra Leone, former slaves from the UK, on the other side, Gambia, Senegal, to the north in some parts by Cameroon. So this is where Guinea lies, not Cameroon, Gambia. This is where Guinea lies, right in that nook, right there. Mali, I beg you, to the north. And so what are we saying the proverb is today? The man on his feet carries off the share of the man sitting down. The man on his feet carries off the share of the man sitting down. Prof, we'll start with you.
The man on his feet carries
off the
shares of the man sitting down. I would imagine this proverb means that the person who throws himself out there, the person who's working, the person who's doing things, effectively does not only realize the best for himself, but also ends up taking what would have been available for the fellow doing nothing. That is the person seated down there. Yeah, so my interpretation is that, the proverb is encouraging us to get on our feet and do what we have to do.
Okili?
Yeah, taking it from what Prof has said, my view is that the proverb probably educates us that leadership is not judged by the noise from the crowd, but by the endurance of the vision of a leader. So that in every mass, there would be the noisy crowd, but then there will be that person who stands out and, looks at a distance and tells people that let's look yonder. We are not yet there, and we can get there.
Absolutely.
So he will basically pull the weight of the entire group.
As he's standing, and the standing person is the leader. Okay. We could even extrapolate that a little bit further and say that you're pushing it towards Sona and saying, Wakili, that this is what the president essentially would do. So the State of the Nation address usually is to do just that, to give the people of the country an update in terms of what's going on, as though they couldn't tell, but okay, to let them know that this is what's happening, this is what has happened, and this is what they plan for the future. But it seems as though the chatter about is that what is expected will be the State of the Nation from His Excellency President William Ruto this afternoon will be very different from the experience that Kenyans have so far. So let's analyze that a little bit. And let me give you a little bit of what the standard Kenya's Bold newspaper talks about what the state of the nation is. And so long as it's in the paper, it must be true. What really matters? Right. Public finances, that's what matters. Corruption, it matters. If you're not dealing with corruption today, then there's the problem. If he's not going to mention that, there's going to be an issue. Devolution, effective devolution that should ensure Kenyans get services without needing to navigate government bureaucracy. Economy, the public is focused on jobs, incomes, wealth opportunities, and the soaring cost of living. Security, Kenyans want honesty about crime, terrorism, cybercrime, illicit trade, banditry, and everyday safety. Households, the true measure of national progress lies in household well-being, governance and service delivery like e-citizen bribery, inefficiency, and slow services persist. Kenyans are worried about the cost of fuel, cost of electricity, generally the cost of living. It's the hope that these will be the things that will feature in the State of the Nation address this afternoon. Professor Menya, would it be different?
Will it be different or should it be different?
Both.
I think that is.
Or can it be different?
Yeah. To start us off, I think Kenyans, we have an issue that we need to address. Kenyans are the sort of people that before you send them, they're like children. Before you send the child to the shop, before you explain to the child that today you are to buy exercise book, the child just disappears to the shop with the money. You haven't told them what to buy. They come back with bread because that's what they normally buy.
Yes.
And the question we should be asking ourselves is what should the President of the Republic of Kenya be reporting on? And you see it even in the newspapers here. I think the newspapers have Standard, I believe now is a better one because I think it deals with a lot more of those issues. You see, the State of the Nation address is actually a constitutional requirement. And the Constitution even goes further to elaborate the content of the State of the Nation address in Article 132.
Correct.
Yeah. The first part, and I've broken it down because I think a lot of lawyers around us have failed us in this regard. So I'm bringing in some totally new thinking to simplify it for the citizens. This thing is just broken into two. Basically, the president is meant to report on our own internal issues and then external issues. So it's just the two things, basically Kenya and then our international obligations. On the Kenyan bit is actually about the principles and the values of the country. And that is broken down into 4 components, if you can look at them. The first one is what I call sovereignty. Things that have to do with the sovereign. There are issues there around patriotism, around national unity, around sharing, around devolution, around rule of law, around democracy, around public participation, things that relate to Article 1 of the Constitution, the sovereign, and the status of the sovereign as far as this particular government is concerned. The second one is actually about rights. It's actually about rights, and it highlights is around human dignity, is around equity, is around human rights, is around non-discrimination, is around protection of the marginalized. And is there, in those specific words. The third one is what I call governance. And it talks about, issues around integrity, issues around transparency, in fact, good governance, it starts with good governance and goes all the way to accountability. The last one, which is the only one the president attempts to talk to, is what's called sustainability. And as a sustainability expert, I believe that has aspects to do with social sustainability, economic sustainability, and so on. So when you're reporting on education, you're reporting on issues relating to social sustainability. When you're reporting health, you're reporting on issues relating to social sustainability. When you're reporting economy, you are reporting on issues related to economic sustainability. Now, to my point. After the Constitution clearly spells out what the president is to report on. Typically, the president comes and reports to us on roads that have been built, on hospitals, on the number of houses that have been done. Basically these things that the president does.
Yep.
They're doing a lot of them infrastructural issues. That in a way relates remotely. It's not even sustainability. It relates remotely to that, just one aspect. So the rest of the things that I've articulated, we don't actually get a status report on them. As the newspaper is picking it, what is the status of governance? What is the status of corruption in this economy? Where is inclusion? How many Kalenjins are in the Ministry of Energy? How many Oromos have been employed from the time Adam and Eve were created? And does it have anything to do with government? How many Gen Zs, for example, died And what has government done, to address those issues? So I think I wanted to start it off from that perspective, that yes, we shall actually have, what did you call it?
Sona Day.
We shall have Sona.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of just, there's no difference between it and the other Sona for the feel good.
Wakili, the State of the Nation address is indeed considered a very vital part of the president's constitutional duties in Article 132 of the Constitution, and is also charged with, of course, concerns that relate to the promotion of accountability and transparency to the Kenyan people. And if we talk about accountability and transparency, we have institutions like Parliament, and that post, SONA, it is expected that it is supposed to be discussed in Parliament. And Prof raises a raft of issues that I believe that Kenyans have not been treated very nicely to. Do you think that our institutions like Parliament, particularly insofar as accountability and debating the State of the Nation address and holding government accountable, have our institutions failed us?
No, let me start from the point as I answer your question to say that I always appreciate having to debate Prof. And that he raises the discussion to, philosophical and metaphysical levels, as a Prof should do. But then also to remind us that the president today is not talking to professors at the university. The president today is talking to farmers in Nyeri. He's talking to, fishermen at Prof's village at Osenge. And then so what the Prof has talked about in terms of sovereignty, rights, governance, sustainability, must be broken down by the president to, what is relevant to those people. And so I see the president speaking about, the Mau Summit Road that is going to open up, Western Kenya and Rift Valley. I see the president talking about the interventions in the blue economy that is enabling our fishermen to, earn their daily living. I'm seeing the president talk about, innovative job creation in the housing sector, in the infrastructural sector, in the digital sector. And it is through this that the people ideally gain their sovereignty, because a man cannot be sovereign if he cannot feed himself and his family. It is through this that they gain their rights. And then the president will be talking about systems that have been built, The digitalization of over 22,000 government services has reduced corruption and reduced the cost of doing business, and things like that. And
such as e-citizen. Such as e-citizen.
Yeah, it's citizen with its challenges.
Yeah.
It is a transformative and a revolutionary way of getting services from government. I mean, people used to walk. I am born by a beach called Nyamwari. It had poor roads. An old lady or a fisherman would want to get certain services. Right now, if they have access to the internet, they can actually get government services and pay for those services without having to spend a whole day in Kisumu. That reduces costs, that reduces time, that enables them to engage in other economic activities. That reduces, the red tape and rent seeking by government officers. I grew up in a law firm. And when I grew up, I remember we would go and sit at the registry the whole day waiting for a file to be retrieved. We now file. I can file anything at 2 a.m., pay but through M-Pesa, and serve the other parties. Those are things that we should celebrate as a country, And so my view is, just as I mentioned when we were beginning, that there would be a lot of chatter and talk, and I can see some of them on our headlines today about what has not been done. But my view is that looking at where we come from, We came from when this administration was taking over, when, you know, the price of fuel was hitting, you know, the roof, when, you know, we had a problem with accessing basic food. Now we have sufficient maize in the country, when we had 157 billion shillings worth of pending bills for road contractors, and contractors had left site, and now we have construction going on everywhere, with the, you know, the government targeting building about 1,100 kilometers of tarmac roads against what was being built, which was less than 200 kilometers of tarmac road. We are indeed making progress. And then the president, as I end, the president is giving us a vision, a very strong and compelling vision that we should live by. Those are things we should celebrate and work towards.
Actually, if you allow me, a president in office to build roads, I think very, very soon we shall actually have a Chinese president. They're better at building roads than
the question was that there are lots of promises, extreme progress, but there are pain points.
Definitely.
And what is the recourse? What is the center of accountability for Kenyans who feel that there is a pain point and that the State of the Nation address is quite a very profound engagement between the electorate and their leaders, and that Parliament is supposed to therefore discuss?
We need to continue doing what we are doing. Yeah. We need to continue discussing. We need to continue building systems. We need to continue holding our leaders to account. But even as we do that, we celebrate what has been done and what has been achieved.
Well, let me put it this way, Prof.
Right.
You mentioned very well that a leader is supposed to take people along a certain vision so they can get to where they want to be.
Yes.
And where they want to be is an agreed upon destination.
Correct.
As a country, we've gifted ourselves a constitution. So today, the president is not doing us a favor by coming to address us. It is his constitutional responsibility.
Definitely. Yeah.
The agreed upon destination is one, economic growth.
Correct.
And
Definitely.
the proper establishment of systems that work and serve Kenyans.
Indeed.
Today, Kenyans that are not professors will agree with his theory and philosophy that the country is headed in the wrong direction. About 90% of Kenyans are agreeing to that. Today is not a day for the president to come and pick what he feels is convenient to come and pronounce.
Or what is done.
Today is the day to come out and pronounce exactly the real state of the nation. Therefore, when we try to hold brief and say that perhaps what he said on Al Jazeera, that he has fixed the economy, is true, I think that is erroneous and misleading the country. What do you think, Prof?
But even that, I tell people, look here, with a budget of 4 trillion, even if you didn't have a head, you must do something.
Right.
Something will be done. So, you're giving us a list of of things that have been done, to me is missing the point. Even MCAs have done things, and MPs have done things, and similar things. They built roads, they built schools, they built, governors have done things and so on. And to me, that's why it's very important to go back to the fundamentals. How did we get into the situation that the president himself was dealing with? The situation of debt, the situation of nothing to spend on our development, the situation of costly loans and so on. It's because the former president was doing things. It's not because he was doing nothing. He was building roads, but he was building roads at what cost? He was building the SGR, but he was building at 10 times what it costs outside there. There was corruption in his government, which basically meant that we're not getting value for money as citizens as actually were. And even when it comes to things, we're just being sympathetic with the president because we know his advisors, people like my brother Joshua Nyamori here, who don't apply their minds to what is expected of the president, and just do a list that in fact Parliament can access without necessarily the president coming to address them. All these reports of things that have been done are there. They're there in the public domain. They're there within government and so on. So we don't need the president to come and tell Parliament how many kilometers of roads have been done.
Right.
But even on that one aspect, let me just speak on that, because I think it's almost impossible for these guys to report on more important things to us, like governance, like human rights, like basically fundamentals of democracy, things to do with devolution, things to do with inclusion, human rights. They're not able to do that. So let's focus on what they're able to do, which is roads, which is schools, there have been the employment that has happened there, which is health. Again, what is the expectation in terms of how this is reported? There's nothing in the Constitution that says that the president shall report on what has been done, in the economy. It talks about sustainability. And what we are keen on, and I'm bringing this to the issue, for example, of how then we finance all of this. What you need to be hearing from the president is that, look, we got so much loans to build roads in the previous government, and it was not sustainable. Now we are financing our infrastructure differently so that it is actually value for money for citizens. That is when the sustainability aspect starts coming through. That we are getting into sustainable debt management, for example, where we are saying, fine, this is where we are in terms of our debt to GDP ratio. This is how our debt repayment was, based on the clever economists that we've given the president, thousands of them. This is what it should be, and therefore this is what my government is doing to take us there. Yes, in the next 2-3 years, our debt to GDP ratio could have reduced to this. We shall be shifting expensive loans with better loans. Those are the things that we expect to be hearing from President, because then he'll be speaking about sustainability. When it comes to even issues around education, what you're interested in is not necessarily how many teachers we have employed, but what does this mean for us as a country in terms of development of a human resource? Look at a very basic thing. The World Bank is already pointing fingers that, look here, Kenya is actually losing its human resource, that we've spent so much money, training. That's what we're meant to be hearing, not telling us that you've given some maids work in Saudi Arabia and they're dying there. What you should actually be telling us is how are you keeping the productive brains in this country that is important for us for the long-term sustainability of this country and our economy, not these stupid things that so many people have gotten house jobs in Saudi Arabia. So my point is that even on this one item, which the president reports on, is still operating way below expectation. All these things, we are meant to link them with the sustainable development of our country, both socially, economically, politically.
Especially if we're trying to get to first world country, which has been mentioned more times than you have fingers on both hands. It's interesting because then, whereas I understand the need for PR for any government, which is definitely,
and
it must be.
It is part of that.
There is also a role that the truth plays for the benefit of citizens.
For credibility and
trust. And
building.
so when you address the nation, because that's when you do what you do, when you address the nation, you're talking to the people who are waking up to these realities and living these realities every day.
Correct.
So there's only so much PR that you can play in the face of their reality.
Right.
So when we talk about certain things and that reality is not the existence or the experience of the people whom you are addressing, then we would have a problem. Many governments have said that speaking the truth as a government would lead to inevitable collapse of your integrity as a leader or your position as a leader. Would there be a problem with the state of the nation, Wakili, today being the president coming and telling Kenyans, this is where we are. This is what we've done with the money you have given us in the last 1 year.
Yeah.
These are the problems we are having. This is what we need. This is where we are.
Correct.
Would there be anything wrong with doing that?
As I answer you, I think the future of Kenya will not be built by bitterness, by professors dismissing.
It is not bitterness.
Allow me to.
I'm one person who's very happy with the president.
Okay.
The only problem is that is bit. No,
Prof, you know,
Okay, fine.
you know, when a professor speaks, I listen, and I've listened very keenly. But the prof must give students time to talk, and my point is
Right.
that you know, when professors dismiss, you know, building of a port, building of you know, fish landing beaches.
Nobody's dismissing
When professors dismiss the fact that
We are very
our
happy with
farmers are now getting cheaper fertilizer that are increased production, and calling that stupid,
No.
then I think we are
No,
not
no,
we are
no,
not
no.
moving forward. My point is.
I will not keep quiet because when a student misrepresents what
No,
the
but-
professor is saying.
Okay.
Prof,
Like we said,
Prof,
no.
Prof, allow me.
Hold on,
You'll
it's not-
get
okay,
you'll
hold
get
on,
your
hold on.
chance.
Those are my words.
You'll get
Those
your
are my
chance.
For
words.
purposes of
But you-
clarification.
those are my
No,
words.
you,
Okay.
you'll get your chance.
For
Allow
purposes,
me.
for purposes
No,
of
you cannot
clarification.
mislead.
Sorry.
Allow me.
Okay, now
Allow me.
Can
Allow
everybody?
me.
Oh, can everybody allow me?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
No, you are allowed.
So,
So-
for purposes of clarification,
Yes.
what he said was these stupid things like counting the number of jobs Kenyans are getting in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. So when this government ensures that as at this year we have recruited 76,000 teachers, that has never happened, and that by January we will have 100,000 teachers recruited, and that just last week we had 10,000 policemen recruited. It is not silly.
They've not
It's
been
not
recruited
stupid.
yet. They've not
It
been
is-
recruited.
We have 76,000 teachers.
The
in
police,
Don't put words in my mouth.
We have
sorry,
76,000.
sorry, the policemen have not been recruited.
I have
The
said that
process has started.
This process of recruitment of 10,000 policemen has started.
Yes.
That is not silly.
No.
When we
Nobody's
talk
saying they are
about
silly. In fact, we
Prof,
appreciate them.
Prof, let's have a
Yeah.
discussion, not shouting much.
No, but
Yeah.
don't misrepresent what
when we
I'm
have
saying.
when we have graders building roads across the country, that is development. My point? My point. Yes.
If I may.
I
Yes,
just wanted him
please.
to answer
So
my
that we
question.
can-
And I want to answer
So
your
you can
question.
answer the question so that we
Yes.
can have time
Right.
to focus on these things that matter.
Yeah.
The question very clearly was, would the state of the nation address telling Kenyans the state of things as they are be such a bad thing?
And that is exactly what the president is expected to do. I believe that is what the president is coming to say. The challenge that we have as a country is that sometimes we have two different groups of people. Some people looking at the glass from the position of half full, some people looking at it from the position of half empty. As an optimist, I opt to look at what we have achieved and what we can achieve. I look at Kenya as a country which is work in progress, and that we must continuously rally our people around compelling vision, which the president is doing, and we must appreciate what is happening. We must appreciate the jobs being created. We must appreciate the fact that, when roads are built, then it means that farmers are able to get their products through the market. That expectant women are able to get to the labor ward. That children are able to get to schools. That young people are able to get opportunity. These are things we should celebrate.
So what
my point is that we still have a long way to go.
So what
But
Wakili,
yes.
I'm not surprised that you passed your exams. You see, this is the issue.
That's an insult.
I withdraw.
passed.
I withdraw.
That's
I
an
withdraw.
insult.
It's withdrawn.
That's an
Okay.
insult, and I passed.
Yeah,
my exam.
I need to do that so that I stop you from attacking
Yeah.
me. But anyway, this is the issue, and for me, this is a question that a lot has been done. We're not saying nothing has been done at all. What you're asking is that would it hurt to be a little bit more reflective and also highlight areas where there are challenges, because Kenyans, including you and me, who live in this country, are feeling those things. Instead of just coming to highlight or to shout about the things that have been done. We know they've been done. That's okay. But what you're asking is this balanced state of the nation address. If you look at all the newspapers, what I like, in fact, starting with the Nation, let me just highlight here what you're talking about. they look at healthcare, for example, and they're saying, okay, fine. There was a promise of the universal coverage, and there was a promise that healthcare would be cheap. And then they proceed to say, yes, SHA has been put in place, but there's a debt crisis there. With actual figures, that then needs to be addressed. Healthcare still remains expensive. It's just a fact that has been put on the table there. When you look at agriculture, they're not even highlighting any challenge. They're saying what was promised was to reduce the cost. And what is the status? The current status is that inflation has fell down. It has come down mainly because of agriculture. And then import dependency has also reduced. They are saying it as it is. And when it comes to the economy, and to agree with you, and so that you can also feel a bit happy. When it comes to the economy, they're saying the shilling has been stabilized, and it's a fact. It has actually been stabilized.
But Prof, let's appreciate the flip side. Let's flip it up.
But then you see my point. My point is that, the flip side is that we still have an issue with with job creation. All the jobs you're talking about are largely.
My flip side is this. My flip side is
right.
This. And Wakili, I hope you'll agree with me. There's a difference between being busy
Yes.
and being productive.
Yes.
We can keep highlighting activities that the government is doing.
The things that you've done.
They're doing roads, they're doing markets,
Yes.
they're
Correct.
doing hospitals.
Correct.
But in real sense, how is that impacting the day-to-day lifestyle
Of the people.
of the normal Kenyan?
Correct.
That's where the conversation needs to go. There is no one disputing the president is busy. We're even borrowing money to steal today.
And that's what I was saying.
Just a bit,
Yes.
Professor, to still continue being busy. The question needs to be, as we get busy, as we mobilize our resources and human capital, how is this impacting the day-to-day lifestyle of every Kenyan? Because the mood in the studio is the mood in the streets. People do not agree with the government position that our lives are being improved, and yet we're still spending resources and time and energy. Unfortunately, we are losing lives. As we give numbers, let's also speak to the 87,000 ghost students. Let's also speak to the ghost hospitals that have been paid by these newly fully developed SHA. Yet we are losing lives and losing money. So let's not just pick and choose what is convenient.
No.
The government should come out and
To be positive.
Can I weigh in?
To be positive.
Can I-
There's no option in Kenya. Let's not talk about.
Okay, let's get okay, guys. You know what we're going to do is that in order for us to have a conversation, what we are going to do is at least try and get one voice out.
Yeah.
Let's get a response to that from Wakili.
Okay.
Yeah. As I said, we can choose to look at it as, half empty or half full. My point is that when the president says that we are, building 2,100 kilometers of road, it does not mean that solves the Kenyan problem. It means that through 2,100 kilometers of road, we will have opened the hinterland areas that, were not able to be accessed.
Like where?
Like where? My village in Nyamwari. Okay, we'll have a road. Today I was just reading an update about flood upgrading in my village. One of the biggest problems that my area has faced is perennial floods every April. Okay, the government is doing a huge flood mitigation program and creating drainages around the lake in my area. That should solve the problem, enable our people to have sustainability in terms of livelihood that the Prof was talking about. When we are able to have more people receive loans to support the SMEs, then what we are doing is that we are enabling the common man to participate in the economy. When we have, schools getting more teachers, when we have more policemen, it means we have a more secure country. We can do more business beyond 8 to 5 and probably work until 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. These are the things that will change this country, okay? And my view is that we must continue to recognize what is done, continue to recognize the gaps, and then encourage ourselves moving forward. Change what is wrong.
So
call out each other. Each other, but we cannot dismiss the fact that we are at a better place than we
In
were.
terms of
Better than
2
what?
years
Wakili?
ago.
So
Better than
essentially,
what?
okay, so I know
That's what
Kevin
I'm
has
saying.
a
That's the
question.
conversation. That's what's
I know
happening
Kevin
at
has a
all.
question, but it sounds like what Wakili is saying is that you may have gotten an E in your exams, but at least your clothes were clean, is what you're saying. At least point out the things that look good, even if in the substance of the thing there's a big problem. I don't know. Your
The
question,
silver,
Kev.
yeah, actually, the issue
Right.
around the silver lining, the light at the end of the tunnel. And my
Yeah.
question is this, Wakili, and I like the way you're bringing up the progress, but fact of the matter is that there are certain pain points. And you are talking about statistics, for example, that women are delivering. But on the same note, we have women who have been locked in health facilities because they are unable to pay for their dues using the SHA system. You're talking about infrastructural development, and we have, particularly around roads, and we have big conflicts on devolution of roads between national government and county governments, where, for example, I do not expect that the local roads of Nyamuari in Kisumu would be attributed to the national government, whereas those are pure county government roads. And if you talk to governors and those who are executing some of these functions, they will tell you that devolution is being killed, quote unquote, and that even the resources that are supposed to go to county governments are being stifled by the national government. And this is not particularly the president, but yes, of course, by Article 132, it is the president who issues the State of the Nation address. So if you are the president and Prof calls you the advisor,
No, I'm not.
I know that
I'm
you're
not.
not
I'm
any
not.
of the advisors
I'm not.
of the president.
I'm a
No, because
citizen.
you're not an advisor.
As a voter in this country, and indeed as one of those people who aspire for a better Kenya towards the road to Singapore, how would you propose that these pain points are addressed by the president in his State of the Nation address, without necessarily verbosing on promises and on some of the progress? Progress, we know. The president speaks to us every single day, including in churches, in fundraisings, in rallies, and areas where he's opening the markets. But how would you desire that the pain points, areas that Kenyans feel that are not working very well, are actually addressed in the State of the Nation address?
We must continue having a conversation as a country, okay? Because we will always have different perspectives. And the issue of whether our counties should build our roads is a national discussion that is going on, okay? But as we do that, we should also ask ourselves, what have the counties done with the money we have given them? Okay, so that the money that they have received have been wasted in employment of filling the counties with more employees rather than building on the infrastructure. That when you come to my county, it is the roads done by the national structures that are actually sustainable roads compared to the maram and the soil just being poured on roads that the counties are working on. So we need to strengthen devolution, but strengthening devolution is not necessarily pushing in money to the devolved systems. It is building systems for the devolved governments so that then resources follow the strengthened systems. That is my view. And as we do this is a conversation that we must continue to have around the country to ensure that there is spread all around the country.
Prof, on that, how should the president address the issues which are pain points? That we can be in a constant state of development. We want to get better and do better, but there are issues that are affecting people today. And people would already know that one of the issues that I have a problem with is that you can't budget for education. Let's even take primary education, where you will budget 1,400 shillings for the year, but you will finish the year, children have gone home, having sent them less 580 shillings, and everybody closes their laptop and goes home, they deliver exams as though nothing happened. This is money that's supposed to be coming from government. That's at primary level. When you're at the secondary level, into high school, you're supposed to have given them money. You have given them money less 7,000 shillings per student. And nobody's discussing about, are you going to top it up next year? What are we going to do with the deficit? It was budgeted for. If the money comes, what's going to be done with it? Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about these things. A story that bleeds my heart till today. There are women and men in this country, in Mandera, who go and sit at an opening in the ground Water emanating from that ground is what they fetch after trekking for hours to drink in Kenya, not in in Kenya. That is the water they hope to drink, bathe with, cook, feed everybody with in this country. Those are pain points.
Right.
How do you deal with those pain points?
Let me tell you, Ndu, and actually, this reminds me that I'm not just here on TV, on talk show discussing these things. But these are matters I've discussed with the President of the Republic at his invitation. And this was the President on a cabinet retreat. And so this is not idle talk. These are convictions based on very, very serious knowledge. And if I can summarize my own advice to the President in person and his cabinet, and his advisors, they're all there in that place. I told them, look here, really, there's no country, there's no corporation, there's no individual who has made significant progress without planning, without very solid planning. We're lucky that for the first time this country was fully planned, both physically and economically. That was in Kibaki's time. And I told the President, and we're very proud that Kenya actually had a spatial plan for the whole country, designating every single space in the country. Then there was an economic plan layered on it in terms of how then do you realize those goals. So things were not just happening haphazardly. And then, of course, a bit of that led to the infrastructure things that we are talking about here. The country then gifted ourselves a constitution and a raft of legislation that was to guide the broader development of the country. And those things were there. And what you expect is that those who are governing then generate policies and then generate their programs that are aligned with those bigger pictures. And the things we're talking about now, of equity, of democracy, of rule of law, were already integrated in those bigger picture plans. And what we expect is how the President is then contributing to these plans, or is free to modify them a little bit, and so on. Not to have very many little disparate activities that in themselves may be okay, but don't contribute to a coherent whole. If you're talking about being a first world country, if you're talking about being like Singapore, we will not be like Singapore by opening cattle dips in every little place and so on. We'll only get there through systematic planning and through execution of those plans in a very systematic way. Not just coming to say this is what we've done. And that's what I expect of the President. And including this matter that we're discussing here, I told the President that, look, I'm a Kenyan. I work in this country. I do business in this country. And I'll share with you what I feel. And I feel things are going wrong. That's what I feel. That's my experience. My experience, not like my life is getting better. When I go to the supermarket, I can tell. We buy exactly the same things. I can tell that actually the cost of living is high. Taxation, I can tell, the way my pay slip is actually rated. So this is not idle talk. What you're saying really is that we expect leadership from the President. And leadership is not simply listing what has been done. Really, even at my own household, I can't just come and tell my wife that, look here, I bought a car. What does it have to do with anything?
You meet.
Did we need a car?
Yeah.
How will the car help the family? That's the next conversation that we should be discussing. That yes, we bought a car because school transport is very expensive. And actually, I bought a car because, it's helping me in my business. I can do a little bit more work and so on, and we're going to generate more money. That's not too much to ask of the President. That can the state of the nation be elevated just one step higher, so that it is not about what has been done, but the implications of what has been done in terms of the broader development of the country, in terms of where we want to go as a country, in terms of that same vision that he himself talks about of turning Kenya into the first world. All these little things. In fact, the President should actually make us feel comfort that these are not just political gifts that is throwing around to translate into votes, as it were, but part of a bigger picture. part of a bigger scheme, where it's taking the country in a particular direction. That's not too much to ask for. You mentioned education, for example. One of the things that we are shocked about in this country is that education budget, believe it or not, is one of the areas that has gone up. The country is spending almost double what we're spending in education.
And it's still not spending it.
Exactly. But we have a situation where we can't now fund primary education. We can't fund secondary education. We have all these bursaries all over the place. We can't fund university education. We can't even pay lecturers in the university. And our budget has actually doubled. And this is the sort of thinking that we expect the president to come and say, where is the problem? We're putting more money on this, yet we're getting inferior results to what we've been getting before. That is the same. That's the sort of reflection that we expect the president to be doing in health, to be doing in education, to be doing in the economy. To say, okay, fine, we are doing this. We expect the president to be reflective. Let's put it that way. That yes, things are being done. What is the meaning of these things? And like we're saying, it's not everything. We've even mentioned agriculture, for example, and food security. That we really think that the president's strategy seems to be working. We're not saying everything does not work, but we're saying we have a leader, and the least we expect of a leader is to be a little bit more reflective, so that we start seeing what he's doing in terms of how that contributes to the bigger picture.
All right, let's take a question from you, Kev.
Particularly in terms of being reflective, and one of these pain points is the question of debt. And every time this issue comes up, Kenyans are of the opinion that they are just being played around, despite the fact that, of course, taxation is going up. I love the fact that, for instance, the current CS of Treasury is coming up with a robust tax, policy that really is supposed to therefore help us to project ETC. Is it something that you think the president needs to be honest with Kenyans about sovereign debt? And especially given the kind of other progressive examples like Ethiopia that I hear has actually overpaid or rather gone beyond the expected debt to other Bretton Woods institutions. What is the plan for Kenya's debt repayments?